Hey guys, Joe the Tech Guy back here with another episode this week. For those of you new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you get notified every time I put out new content. And for those of you returning, thank you so much for stopping by. All right, so we got another episode this week. We're talking Apple products. We're talking WWDC 2024. So, of course, I had to bring on Mr. Michael Jargo to talk about this. But before we kind of get into that, how you been, man? It's been a little while.
It has been a while, man. I'm busy. I'm busy all the time. Like even when you sent me the
Right?
message, it's like, "Hey, I'm ready to go," and it was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing that at 3 o'clock," and then I got to go over and help somebody else set up their streaming rig, and then I got to come home and make dinner, and then I
Right?
got to go to the grocery store, and I already mowed the yard this morning, and it's welcome
Non-stop.
to a day off as a grown ass adult, right?
Right? So yeah, man, like this event, like it's I gotta say that it's production wise as usual. They knocked it out of the park. The beginning, skydiving into Apple headquarters, the Motley Crew. That was to use a wrestling term. I kind of marked out to that. That was pretty cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that bit.
I very much enjoy anything that has to do with Motley Crue, except for new Motley Crue. So
Except for new.
it is what it is.
So it was pretty cool. I mean, I will say, like before we kind of get into the details, like they overall, like I felt like they really knocked it apart. Like they actually exceeded my expectations here. And we'll get into like the artificial intelligence stuff at the end because I think that they actually did some really cool stuff there. But let's kind of break down because it was mainly all about operating systems. So if memory serves me correctly, they start off with Vision OS, which I'm kind of glad that they kind of got that out of the way. They announced that coming up in, I believe it's in near the end of the year. Up here in Canada, we're going to get the Vision Pro, but it's the type of thing where it doesn't really. It's nothing on my radar because price wise, like we're looking at like $5,000 up here. Like it's the type of thing where it's
Right.
just not going to be in my wheelhouse at all.
Have you
Right,
seen one
so
in the wild yet?
I have not.
Nor have I.
Even like in the Apple Store, I haven't been able to check it out because
Nope.
we haven't gotten it in Canada yet. So I think it's the type of thing where it's either gonna you're either gonna it's a device for you or you don't. There's never going to be like any kind of indecision. You're either in that market or you're not. And honestly, VR is just not something that interests me at all at this point.
I, I haven't even gotten into online gaming yet, Joe. Like, I don't do it. I don't do it mostly because I just don't like people, which is no surprise to anybody that's ever watched any of my shows before, right?
It's like
But
back in my day, we used to sit on the couch and play our games.
yeah, I just want to play a
It's like,
one player game all by myself, and when I'm done,
right?
I'll shut it
That's
off,
it.
right? Like I
Shut
don't
up.
need
Right?
interaction with other humans, which in that respect, I guess we'll get into the whole AI thing because we're trying to limit as much human to human contact as we possibly can. Um,
Right.
I still think the only thing that I have seen that the Vision Pro is good for is for military personnel dropping bombs on people. Like even the new commercial for the Apple Vision Pro, what's it show? A bunch of World War II vets flying around in airplanes bombing people. Like that is literally the only practical application I have found thus
Right.
far for the Vision
Yeah.
Pro is flying drones to drop bombs on people.
So it's the type of thing because they were like showcasing to like be able to watch like a movie like on a big wide screen. That's all fantastic and all, but I mean you're by yourself. So let's say like the rest of your family's sitting on the couch with they're just gonna sit there and go, ha ha ha, it's just like it's a very solitary kind of experience. When it's the type of thing where like I feel like technology is at its best when it kind of brings us together. That's one thing I like with these kind of players like FaceTime. You do that with other people. That's cool. But this is like a very somebody has used a couple of other VR headsets. It's a very solitary experience, which I'm
That's
not
what they
necessarily a
want,
fan of.
Joe. That's what we want. I mean, if we're going to get political, right? This is the destruction of the nuclear family. Either one of two things happens. Either
Yeah.
you are completely by yourself, or you are a rich douchebag that can afford to buy 4 Apple Vision Pros. I mean,
Pros,
like
right?
that's pretty much it, man.
Yeah. Agreed. Now, where it started to get a little interesting, when we start getting to the other OS updates. I believe Apple Watch was next. Some cool innovations there. I think the Vitals app is the one that stood out to me. as particularly useful. Basically, to kind of simplify it, it's like it's going to let you know when there's something wrong with you, which I think is rather useful as somebody who's relatively healthy. At least I like to think so. I should be okay, but it's still going to be nice to know that my Apple Watch has got my back. If something bad happens to me.
I firmly believe that the Apple Watch is the single greatest fitness tool that has been invented in the last 30 years. I really, truly believe that. This just takes it to another level, right? Now, the thing that I'm unclear on is what Apple Watches are going to support this, especially as we start getting into the iPhone OS, right?
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of these are only going to be for the 15 Pro and up, right? So now, if you're still rocking that iPhone 6, sorry about your luck, right? I'm wondering how much of the Apple Watch OS is going to take advantage of older technology versus, oh, nope, now you got to go buy a new Apple Watch too. And while you're at it, you might as well buy an Apple Vision Pro. And oh, yeah, you need that new iPad. And oh, yeah, we got the M3 MacBook Pro over here. And oh, you don't have an iMac? What kind of loser are you? Like, it's becoming so big that we're just sowing more and more seeds of division between the haves and the have-nots, right? And even if you are a have, you don't have the newest thing, so you are a have-not.
It's definitely at that point, I thought one of the coolest recent innovations, which I make use of all the time as somebody who works, I usually have my watch on me, when a text or a phone call comes in, being able to do the double tap, and I have yet to false trigger it. It is such a friggin' useful feature, and I use it all the time. Because it's especially in a lot of work environments, a lot of us are not really allowed to take our phone out and use it. So it's just super useful. And the vitals thing I think is going to be pretty useful. And then the training aspect of it, I think for people who, especially athletes and that kind of stuff, they're going to get a lot of use out of this.
Have you found yourself feeling like you have Tourette's yet? I mean, for real, you're like standing at work, right? And all of a sudden I got I can't stop myself, right? And now they're going to incorporate it into the AirPods too. So now you're going to be nodding your head, you're going to be shaking your head, you got to double tap your fingers, like. It's getting a little bit much, man. Like, I seriously feel like I have Tourette's. Like, I'll be sitting at work, and all of a sudden the wife, will send me 4 text messages all in a row, and you're just sitting there tapping your fingers while you're trying to talk to a customer. It's becoming a little bit much. And now we've also got the different ones. Like, now you can make a fist, you can make a double fist, you can tap your fingers together, and I feel like I have Tourette's.
I honestly did think of it that way, but as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, that sort of makes sense. I don't think I get as many texts as you, but yeah, it's like it's like when you saw that first Bluetooth headset being used out in the public. I'm like, okay, so he's either having a conversation with somebody or this person's insane, right? But now then you get used to it. So I think it's going to be a type of feature, and I also see a lot of other manufacturers, a lot of the companies trying to copy that. And we'll see what kind of success that they have. But it's the type of thing too, just because you have to bring attention to it. I have yet to false trigger that feature, and it's been fantastic. So
have you had the false notification though, where you think that your wrist is vibrating, but it's actually not? You're just so used to it vibrating. You're like, oh, why is my watch going? Oh, it's not going off.
Sometimes I'll feel like on my phone, I'll feel like it was like a little tickle in my pocket, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, it's nothing."
Nothing. So I'm just completely losing my mind.
I'm not sure if I'm getting nerve damage or what's happening, but it's just we get that technology bug. I think is what could be happening there. But some cool stuff there, and like you said, the Apple Watch is something that I didn't think was going to be useful at the beginning in its inception. Really wasn't, but now just with all the features that they're including, I mean, there have been stories of people literally their lives have been saved because of this device. So
have you had the experience of, oh crap, my Apple Watch didn't charge overnight and now I don't know what to do with the rest of my life until it's charged? I mean, I don't have that happen a
Yep.
lot, but like it happens to the
Yeah.
wife all the time. Where it's like, she'll
Yep.
only have like 40% charge on her watch when she goes to
To get on
work.
there.
And all of a sudden, your rings are yelling at you because you haven't went far enough today. You haven't burned enough
Yeah.
calories. And it's ridiculous, man. It's absolutely
Yep.
ridiculous.
And they're like, hey, I got this find a place to plug it in. I don't care where. Let's get it up to at least 50%, and then we're good. I can get through the day on that. So that's the other thing too. The battery life has gotten a lot better on that device.
Yeah,
All right.
they certainly. I have noticed though, and this isn't just a me thing. The Apple Watch batteries seem to die significantly faster than anything else that is running with the lithium-ion battery, and I'm not really sure why that is. But if there's one thing about the Apple Watch that I want improved, it's battery life, and I not with a new one that you've been wearing for about a year and a half, right? Like that,
Yep.
those are the ones that seem like they're really experiencing the problems. Like an iPhone, yeah, when you get below 80%, Apple recommends that you have the battery changed, but that can take like 4-5 years before your battery is only charging to 80% capacity. It seems like with the watches, it's going significantly faster.
Yeah. So there might have to be some kind of innovation when it comes to battery technology. I mean, already impressive that they can fit into something of this size, but time will tell and that kind of stuff. Time will fix those kind of issues.
And
And
more importantly, it's 80
yeah,
bucks to replace an Apple Watch battery. Doesn't matter if you have Apple Care or not. And I mean, by the time you're figuring in 80 bucks, I mean, you're already, a third of the way to a new watch. If you want an SE and not an Ultra.
It's a tough spot to be in for sure. Let's move to we'll kind of lump iPad OS and iOS together because a lot of the features there are going to be available on most things. I guess kind of like some of the big features before we get to the AI stuff is best way I can say is that we're just allowing a lot more kind of customizing to those devices, being able to arrange things how you want. I know Android users are going to be like, well, we've had that for years and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, cool. So Apple will always wait to implement this kind of stuff when they feel the time's right and it can be implemented properly. That's it.
But here's my question. Don't we already have that ability? I mean, yeah, now you're going to be able to go in and change the color of icons and stuff like that, but we've always had that ability to go in and customize the layout inside of your iPhone, inside of your iPad, or on your Mac. I mean, we're just adding in more custom features that people are not going to know how to use because I feel like we've had these features for years at this point.
Yep. Again, it's the type of thing where, it's just being kind of fine tuned. Like right now, you can't necessarily place them exactly how you kind of want to, but you kind of can. So it's the type of thing where it's just solidifying that, and I think it's just gonna make people feel like more like an equal ground. They're also including RCS, which I know people are making a big deal about. It's not a big thing for me. Like whether it's a green bubble. Whether it's a blue bubble or a green bubble, I really don't care. As long as the text message comes through, I really don't care. With iMessage, obviously it's easier to talk to other people with Apple devices, but at the end of the day, people were making a big storm about this. It really doesn't bother me that much.
Well, that must be because you're Canadian, Joe, and people are much nicer in Canada.
See?
People are much nicer in Canada, so you don't have the bullying aspect that we're experiencing here in the United States. Did you know this is a thing? It is actually a thing, and not for our generation. Like our generation, we do not care, although I do judge you if you have a green bubble, and I'm just like, what is your problem, you absolute freaking schmuck? Shout out to Chops. This is actually becoming a problem, though, especially like at the middle school. Your middle school kids should not have iPhones, by the way. And at the high school level, the green bubble, blue bubble thing is like actually becoming a problem. So, and this is what this lawsuit is all about with the whole iMessage thing, that they want to incorporate Androids onto the iMessage server so we can stop bullying between the green bubble and the blue bubble. Like, this is how soft our society has gotten at this point. Like, it's not a black and white thing anymore. it's a blue bubble, green bubble thing.
It reminds me of like during the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis days. So we had like the Super Nintendo kids and we had the Sega Genesis kids, right? So,
Yep.
but it's like it sounds like it's worse. I haven't experienced a lot of that, just because I guess
Because
most
you're
people that
Canadian.
most people that I connect with already have iPhones, so I haven't really encountered that issue too much, except Carl. Carl's still on the Android side of things, so he's got green bubbles. But that's okay. We still love Carl.
I mean, really, the only thing is the speed of the text message, right? Especially if you're sending any kind of a multimedia message. Like MMS
Now,
messages, I absolutely like. If my buddy is on an Android, I'm not even trying to send him a picture. If you're on
yeah,
an iPhone, then yeah, I will. But
yeah,
that to me is the biggest disparity between the green bubble and the blue bubble. And
that and you have
international,
the
obviously, the way we
yeah,
communicate.
and then because that's cool because I mean you're in the U.S. I'm in Canada. We can talk on iMessage, no extra costs there. And what I think one of the more recent features added into iMessage that I use on a regular basis, check-in. I think that is a really useful feature, especially if you have family and kids and whatnot, and you want to make sure everybody's safe when they get home, especially if they're a late shift worker or something. It's a fantastic feature. As soon as you get home, that person that you're notifying gets notified. It's a very handy, useful feature.
The
I
thing
enjoy it.
I think I find myself using more than anything lately is Find My. And it's not that I'm
Yep.
looking for my devices, it's that I get a notice of when my wife actually leaves work. And so I know when to be expecting her at home. Like, that's
Right.
really the way. Oh, my kids are on the way home from school. Where are they? Like, I use Find My all the time.
All the time. It's very, very useful and definitely a better way than just planting an air tag on a person. That's another thing too. That's I get people calling it all the time. Or it's like, oh, I want to buy an air tag. Cool. What are you using it for? I'm gonna throw it on my wife. I'm like, just have her
Just get
share
her an
her
iPhone and
location
use
with me,
Find My.
or marry somebody that you trust.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Okay, so you want me to go on a soapbox on this one, right? So the other day, I have a customer come in and could not use their brand new Windows computer because the wife
Single
set it
payer.
up. Oh, here's why though. The wife set up the email for the Microsoft account, and it's a joint email account, right? So it's for both me and my husband. And for the birth date, he put in their anniversary date. Congratulations, your computer thinks you're a 4-year-old, and that's why it's not letting you do anything. That's why. That's why. And I'm
Fantastic.
looking at the dude, and I'm just like, bro, this is not going to end well for you. I was married to that person at one time. She looked completely different, had a completely different name, but this is not going to end well for you. Like, you might as well just
Yeah.
cut your losses now and get out while you can. Joint email accounts? No, 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 no. Marry somebody that you trust. For the love of
Yeah.
freaking God.
Yeah. And it's yeah. Not to make fun of
four
the
years
Windows thing,
old. Thought she
but
was a
yeah,
4-year-old.
personal. That's funny. Okay. All right. Let's shift
Microsoft
over
accounts are
to.
stupid, by the way. Very
They really,
stupid.
really are. I hate mine because we use Teams at work, and it's such a shit show. But I digress on that one.
No, the biggest shit show is S mode. I
Oh,
will die on this hill.
I have no idea
Dumbest
why S mode exists.
technology ever. S
It's
mode.
stupid. Yeah. Worse than Vista, maybe,
Yes, absolutely.
maybe. So
Absolutely.
this,
You're,
yeah,
you're, you're getting to Windows ME territory when it comes to S mode.
yeah, it's terrible. Now, switching to something that's not terrible, at least I think, is their new version of Mac OS. So their crack squad of savvy, motivated personnel were on their trip to find that new name. We have Mac OS Sequoia. Um, cool, I like the name. Some cool new features added to. One of my favorites, I think I'm going to probably use quite a bit. I was surprised to see it. Is basically being able to mirror your iPhone's display on the screen. I think that's going to be a really handy feature. It's just adding more to that continuity between these devices, which is one of the main attractions to, especially when you get right into the Apple ecosystem. is that continuity makes doing things very seamless and very easy. And I was really happy to see that as a feature added.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really cool. The biggest thing that surprised me that they actually took into account is your phone will remain locked while you are mirroring it to another device, which I thought was
Yes.
really, really smart. Very, very cool.
Very cool. And
Now, the
yeah, yeah,
one thing that does give me hesitation with this though,
yeah,
what if you have a computer that is like the family computer,
mm,
right? Like I don't need
yeah.
all of my notifications going to my iMac while my kid is trying to sit here and play Roblox.
Well,
Like
see, because that's
I'm curious how the on off of that is going to work, because I do
yeah,
run into that with SharePlay quite frequently, where it's like, oh, I'm just
yeah.
walking by and all of a sudden my phone has taken over my iMac.
That's the type of thing too. Is now you're going to get your iPhone notifications on your Mac, so I think it'll have to be tied into whoever's logged in at the moment. So I think as long as you're
Yeah,
logged in
but if
yourself,
you have a family computer, you have one person logged in. Like
yeah,
nobody is setting up 6 different Apple accounts for everybody inside of the house on their iMac. That it's
yeah,
just not happening that way.
just not
It might be
happening.
the
Yeah,
idea, but in practicality, it does not work that way.
yeah. So yeah, and just other little kind of improvements, especially with the continuity was a big thing. Being able just to drag and drop between devices. We kind of already had that, but they're just kind of fine tuning that experience.
It's
The
cool that you're going
tile,
to be able to do that from the phone. Like we've always had that from like
yeah,
iMac to MacBook Pro. I can do that rather seamlessly. But now being
yeah,
able to do that from your phone is pretty cool.
yeah. Window tiling on there. That's something I'll be probably making a lot of use out of. That'll be really
You know what I wish,
useful.
Joe?
What's up?
There's one thing that Windows does that I wish Apple would do. And
Yeah,
that's when you can drag your browser to the right side of the screen and it snaps to half of the screen. The way
yeah,
that Windows does their tiling is
yeah,
so much more effective than what Apple does. And that's
yeah.
one feature that I would absolutely love to see Apple incorporate.
And it looks like that's essentially kind of what's happening. The way they were moving it, it seems to be very similar to that. So I think you're going to be happy with that. I think I'm going to be too. So, and they also added some improvements to like maps and stuff like some topography. That doesn't really interest me too much at all.
Good. Now it's not
But
going to tell me to take a left hand turn into a lake. Yes, that
right,
happened once.
yeah. Now you had mentioned too, kind of silently, kind of mention. They didn't spend too much time on it, but being able to, if you're wearing AirPods, to nod and shake your head to respond to things. We're gonna be like Harry Carey, you know. To this all the time, just be like. So, the memes, I'm sure, will be fun to watch on that one. So looking
Not
forward to that.
designed for metalheads, because if you're sitting there banging your head, suddenly you're going to be answering all these robocalls that you don't want.
Uh, yeah, that's going to be fun. Now, the main event for the show here. Everybody was running is like, oh, they're going to partner with Google, or they're going to do this, they're going to do this. They're kind of doing their own thing, but also partnering a little bit with OpenAI. So we're talking Apple Intelligence is the phrasing here. Um, I know you just from looking at you, I don't think that you're necessarily feeling it. For myself, I think that there's
No.
actually, I personally think that there's quite a bit that's useful here. It's really going to depend on your philosophy as a user here. I think that's what this is going to hinge on.
Okay. So I will ask you the same question that I have asked higher ups at my place of employment. What do you want AI to do for you that it's not already? Like, what is the sales pitch
Yeah.
to the 98% of the population that is not using this? How do we get people to use this? What is that standout feature that you're like, this is what you should be using AI for that you're not already?
For me, like as somebody who puts out content on YouTube, now I can be backing off to a certain extent here, as I mentioned on a previous video here. But little stuff like, I'm in Final Cut. I could be like, hey, you know what, Siri, AI, whatever. Can you level up my audio for me in my video? Something like that I would find useful as an editor. I'm not sure if that's going to be something that's going to be available, but little, I think like
Okay,
mundane tasks
but
that could
how
kind of,
hard is it for you to adjust a damn slider?
right? So it's I guess it's going to depend on how much control you're willing to hand over.
And none. I'm not willing to
Yep.
hand over any control, Joe. I mean, I just,
I feel like
there's this great meme going around, right? That we
oh,
want AI to do our dishes and our laundry so that we can focus on our music and our drawing. We don't need AI to do our music and our drawing while we go and do the dishes and the laundry, right? Like
right.
we are using AI to eliminate creativity and individualism inside of our society. I feel like I'm going full Ted Kaczynski at this point, man. Like, I don't
Oh,
think this is a good thing. I don't need AI to do math for me. I know how to do math. I certainly don't want AI to do my 10-year-old's math for her because she needs to learn how to do math, right? Like,
you
I don't think this is a good thing.
you had mentioned that. I forgot to mention that on the calculator app, on the notes app. So you can basically like understand like trigonometry and formulas and that kind of stuff. So you brought up a great point there. So like when it comes to schooling now, like any teachers watching that presentation are gonna be like, whoa, 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 hold on a second,
Well, like
right?
the big
They
one
do,
that stood out to me was
so
TLDR mode, right? Like
yeah,
too long didn't read. We're just going to summarize it for you. So all of a
right,
sudden, my high schooler is reading The Catcher in the Rye and doesn't feel like reading, chapters
and
four,
then just
five, and six
right.
tonight. Just give me the TLDR mode and summarize it into like 3 paragraphs. I don't think this is a good thing.
Yeah, even on to make a reference, their boys over at the SMB South Park Review recent episode, involved the kids, with girlfriends, and the girlfriends bugging them too much, and them using Chat GPT to just respond to them, and the girlfriends are thinking everything's all hunky dory. Meanwhile, the guys are just like, hey, just give me an automated response, right? So it's I see where you're coming from. I totally understand it. It's kind of removing that human element, especially art. Like apparently you're gonna be able to tell hey, show me a picture of a car driving across a bridge near the Grand Canyon, right? And it can generate it. So it's a
Well,
type of
even
thing
more
where
so, show me a picture of a donkey driving a Mustang, pulling a wagon with the American flag
right,
on it across the Grand Canyon. You can get so specific, and suddenly, we don't need artists anymore. We can just, generate half-ass AI images of it, and I don't think that's a good thing.
where it can get dangerous, in my opinion, especially when it comes to say, movies, music, like how deep is this going to go? And, being somebody who's like an actual human making the stuff, I feel it's got to feel like a bit of a threat there. It's like, damn, it's like, if a computer's just going to be able to do this for us, where, I guess, where do we draw the line of what we allow AI to do and what we don't. Right?
I mean,
It's an entirely separate discussion that we could have.
I feel like the end game here is they want us all to live in Wally, right? Like we're all going to be fat humans floating around in a chair, and all the robots are going to do everything for us.
Yeah,
Like that's the end game here. Unfortunately, it ends more like Terminator than it does with Wally.
right. Because it's the type of thing where this is almost crossing over to like Matrix territory. It's like right now, more or less, computers are still relatively limited to being able to do to what we tell them to do. But at what point does that shift to where okay, no, so now these computers are actually thinking for themselves? That's where the dangerous line can be crossed.
No, I mean that's the end of humankind right there, right? I mean, because they just launched the bomb. Like, hey Siri, drop a nuke, and there you go, done.
Right. So yeah, it's the type of thing where like it's the nerd side of me is like that's really cool, but the human in me is like, well, let's pump the brake a little bit here. Let's make sure. Yeah, I understand your hesitation, I could still see some of the usefulness of it. It'd be like, say I'm in my photo gallery, find all the pictures of mom. That kind of stuff. I could find legitimately useful. Let's say like I'm editing videos. Find all the pictures of iPads here, and then I can post them in the video. There, like that kind of stuff, productivity wise, I would find pretty useful. But I totally understand your hesitation. I feel you.
And yet I still, Joe Schmo walking down the street, no offense to anybody named Joe, Joe Schmo walking down the street, what is he going to be using AI for that he's not already? And like I see
Yeah.
all these great tools that like, yeah, for developers, it's going to be amazing. For programmers, it's going to be amazing. Even though I think that's
Yeah.
also bad because, suddenly, you can just have your AI write all your code for you, which at the
You
end of
could
the day
you
is not necessarily a good thing, right?
so you,
How do you
so right
create
now
new code?
so right now you could tell ChatGPT, write me
Yep.
Tetris, and it'll
Yep.
give you the code right for Tetris. You can plug it into Xcode, boom, you got Tetris.
But what is the average factory worker who works from 9 to 5 going to use AI for that is going to benefit his life versus what AI is going to do to his job so he no longer has that 9 to 5 working at the factory, right? Like, I'm not seeing the benefit on the larger scale. Like, yeah, I'm with you. As a tech nerd, this is absolutely incredible. Like, if you're going to process 14 trillion, NPUs at
Yeah.
a time, like, that's awesome. It's very impressive. But what is the practical application here that actually benefits human society?
And doesn't take away from it. It doesn't take away from jobs and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
I mean, they
Valid
have
point.
entire AI McDonald's now, right? Like there's nobody actually working at the McDonald's. The whole thing is being done by robots. So all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
even a 17-year-old can't find a job because they've been replaced by AI. Is it cool that AI can do that? Yes. Do I want to
Yeah.
yell at a 17-year-old for screwing up my Big Mac? Yes. I need that
Yes.
emotional release. That way I don't freak
Right.
out on my boss for the stupidity that she pulls, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is a good thing. It's very, very cool that we have the technology that can do that. But when you're marketing it to the mass public, there has to be a benefit to the mass public. This is the same problem I have with the Apple Vision Pro. Like, the only good thing that this is good for is dropping bombs on people.
Right. Yep. Yeah. It's the type of thing where I'm hoping that and that's the type of thing. As a lot of this is just baked right into the system, so it's gonna be the type of thing where at least I hope that it's a setting that at least you could turn off if need be.
I guess I just question how many people will even have the knowledge of how to turn it off. Because I
Yeah.
mean, you remember, Joe, we're dealing with the same people that can't remember a Google password.
Yep. Yep.
So much so,
Yep.
Apple has had a password app built into the iPhone for what
Yep.
seems like decades at this point.
Decades now. Yeah.
But now we're going to build a new passwords app because you're too stupid to know how to use it.
Right. Yeah. It's a separate app now. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yep.
So, and I did not hear. So, is everything I have in Keychain going to automatically transfer to this new app?
I would imagine
Or
so.
am I
We'll
now
just have to wait and
using
see.
2 apps?
No, I think that it's going to basically replace and integrate Keychain. I think that yeah. Well, but like time will tell. We'll see when it comes out.
Because
I'm
I'm
still really
curious, how
bad
many
to this,
passwords do you have in your Keychain right now?
so I have to admit to something. You're not going to like me for this, right? And I'm ashamed to say it. I use the same password for a lot of things. I know I shouldn't, but I'm still guilty of that. So yeah. So this might actually be helpful for me because then I can have it generate like incoherent passwords. But see,
I
my
have
worry for that,
33 passwords for
right?
websites that begin with the letter A. What's with the letter A? I have
Hey,
33 passwords that are saved in my keychain
yeah.
currently.
Because my worry has always been where it's like, what if I lose access to this and I have like no idea what the password is because it's just incoherent. It's a mixture of letters and symbols and numbers, right? Where I still do like my password is in password. I'm not that bad, but yeah, that's something I need to get on board with and go with the random passwords because it's yeah, it's a little scary.
It's very scary. It's very
Yeah,
scary.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
doesn't matter. All this like two-factor authentication, three-factor authentication, four-factor authentication. I got to get a phone call and then I got to get a text message and then I got to be redirected to this website so I can put in my authenticator keychain BS. Like it's just irritating at this point. Like that's where passwords have gotten at this point. I use a random 16-digit number. That is typically what I use for my password. And they tell
Yeah.
me it's not strong enough
I hate that.
because
I
it
hate
doesn't
that.
have a lowercase letter and a capital letter and special punctuation. And then even after I put all that in, it redirects me so that I have to authenticate through another application just
I
so I can
hate that
check
too.
my freaking work email.
Yeah. So maybe this will help smooth that process up. Maybe I'm hoping, but
No,
we'll see.
it's
We'll see.
not.
Yeah, yeah,
It won't.
yeah. It's always been painful managing passwords. There are some places that do it well, but I have yet to see. There's places like LastPass and stuff that do a pretty good job of it. But I think we have yet to see somebody really nail that. So that'd be a cool innovation if somebody wants to do
Agreed.
it. Yeah. All right, man. So, well, I guess that about wraps up the event. Like I said, overall, I think there was some cool stuff with the OSs, some legitimately useful features there. With the AI, it's a thing where it's just like we're almost at that tipping point with tech, man, of where it's like we're teetering, really cool and scary, and we're just kind of like, you know, as much as I like seeing some of these innovations, it can be a little yeah, it's a little worrisome. Like, thinking as a human being, how much of what I do is going to be replaced by just being able to ask a computer to do something.
Yeah, and I'm full on in the scary mode at this point. I feel
Yeah,
like we have absolutely went beyond that threshold, um, and I don't think there's any coming back. At this point. I think all we can do is move forward, right? Like, but
yeah.
until AI will give my dog treats so that she won't bark while I'm in the middle of a podcast, it's absolutely worthless to 98% of the population.
That's a perfect way to end kind of things off. I'm actually disappointed she didn't end up on camera. Although she might have a little bit there, but yeah, I agree. Like that kind of stuff would be a legitimate useful because I'm not always there to give the dog a treat. So
Right. I'm busy, dog. Go away.
yeah. All right, man. That about wraps us up here. Um, I guess the next time we see some Apple stuff, we'll touch base again, and we'll see kind of what's going on. In the meantime, as I mentioned in our previous video, I'm scaling things back here on HTM Tech. I was getting to the point where I was doing like multiple episodes a week, sometimes even multiple in one day. So I'm just scaling back to doing one thing a month. And that way, you get to kind of relax, have some balance in my life. And actually, I've been subscribed to MLS on Apple TV Plus, and I've barely watched any of it. So after we're done recording, that's what I'm going to go do.
Nice, nice. And I will probably go watch some Formula One or IndyCar. NASCAR still sucks.
Yeah. I watched that Monaco race, and there was that big crash at the
Oh,
beginning. That was crazy. That was crazy. We gotta sit down and maybe do a Formula One episode at some point.
okay, here's the Formula One episode. Here's the tease for it. Monaco sucks and it needs to go away.
It's so
That's the
narrow. It's so
tease.
fucking.
It's
It's so
awful.
narrow.
It's awful.
It's like
Yes,
yeah,
especially okay. If you want to do a fun tech podcast, all right. The
yeah,
new regulations for 2026 just dropped. We're getting smaller cars. We're going to shrink the cars a little bit. We're getting another 300% hybrid power. We're taking more out of the internal combustion engine in a shorter, lighter, more narrow car, just so they can go around places like Monaco and not have it be a glorified parade.
So yeah, I'm interested. So the next time you and I sit down, that's what we're going to talk about.
There you go, man. I'm down.
Yeah.
Besides, Lewis Hamilton's going to Ferrari. It's not going to matter. He's going to be a 12-time world champion.
Yeah. So next time, that's what we're going to talk about. I'm looking forward to that. We'll just have to plan it out. I've been playing Formula. I've been playing. So we're going a little bit long here, but so F1 23 dropped as a free game on PlayStation Plus, and then like right after I got that, 24 came out, and I'm just like, no. It's just like I'm really enjoying 2023. I haven't jumped over to 24 yet, so I'm still rocking 23. It's fantastic. So yeah.
So, what is your favorite course when it comes to driving around in the F1 cars?
Spain.
I
like Spain.
I'm a big fan of Bahrain. I really like Bahrain.
Bahrain's good too.
I really like Azerbaijan. Coda is still the greatest track known to mankind. And Vegas. Vegas is getting up there real quick and in a hurry. I really like Vegas.
Yeah, some good stuff there. All right, man. That wraps up here for this time, and we'll see you next time where we talk about how tech matters.
HTM Tech is brought to you by Microplay, located at 265 King George Road in Brantford, Ontario, Canada, for all of your video game and collectible needs.
This episode of HTM Tech is brought to you by Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy offers a wide range of products, including energy drinks and dietary supplements, containing 0 sugar, 0 to 5 calories, B vitamins, gluten-free, soy-free, and 100% vegan. Rogue Energy products are a great alternative to those corner store energy drinks that are loaded with sugar and cause you to crash soon after. Head over to rogueenergy.com where viewers of HTM Tech can get 10% off any order placed. Not just your first order, but any time you order. Just use offer code HTM Tech at the checkout to get your discount on one of the hottest energy drink brands on the market. Hey, don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself today.